Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Joseph, and welcome to our 4th annual Women's Day celebration. As you can see, we are hosting our celebration virtually, which is a small example of how COVID has affected our lives. To say that last year was a challenge is an understatement. Even as our team deliberated over how to create this virtual program, we found ourselves falling back into conversations about how our lives have been changed. We talked about how our bedrooms became conference rooms, our closets became offices, and our dining rooms became classrooms. Most importantly, our mask became a fashion accessory. We laughed a lot about this one, being late to virtual mass. Sorry, Father. And how Zoom meeting fatigue became the catchphrase to use at the end of the week. Through everything that we have experienced, from the loss of our favorite places to the loss of beloved smiles and familiar faces. Yes, even through our sadness, somehow we felt a little stronger. We were all in agreement that we were excited to be alive, praise the Lord. And through it all, we felt resilient. And there you have it, resilience. That is the theme of this year's celebration. Today, we're going to bring you stories of women from all walks of life who have faced their challenges and used their faith not just to survive, but to thrive and become resilient in the year of COVID. And so now we ask you to sit back, relax, and enjoy our presentation.
God's blessings, everyone. My name is Doreen Allman of the Women's Committee of St. Martin de Porres Parish. We are pleased to welcome new members to our parish family. We welcome our new permanent deacon, Reverend Mr. Rashid Murad. Born and raised in Queens Village, Deacon Murad was ordained in 2019. Deacon Murad last served at Incarnation Parish in Queens Village. He also works in collaboration with the Office of Black Ministry in the Archdiocese of New York. We also welcome Reverend Franklin Izora, our new parochial vicar. Reverend Izora was ordained July 7, 2007 in his native Nigeria. Reverend Izora is from the religious community of priests called Jesus the Savior. Reverend Izora last served at Sacred Heart of Jesus Parish in Cambria Heights, Queens.
My name is Father Franklin Izora. I hail from Nigeria, and I am ordained to the Fathers of Jesus the Savior. I came to the United States essentially to study, but also to help out the diocese. By God's grace and through the help of all other people, I happen to find myself in a very beautiful parish of St. Martin de Porres, and I became a parochial vicar here. So it is a pleasure to be among good people like you, and I am so privileged, so happy to be among you. I was ordained on the 7th day of the 7th month of the year 2007. So more or less 14 years ago. That's pretty much about me. But I am really happy to be among you with so many devoted women and dedicated women in the parish. I see you doing so much, working hard and all that. It's just because of the pandemic, I've not been able to see so many of you to thank you personally, but the few I have met are measuring up to expectation, and I really, really appreciate you for doing that. Father, our parish pastor, also tells me how wonderful you people are, and he also tells me that there are so many of you who, for the reason of the pandemic, have not been able to resume. But we are really, really happy and appreciative of what you are doing in the parish, and we urge you to keep up the good work. Thank you so very much, and it's been nice working or serving among you. We continue to hope and pray that all this will be over so we can get to know each other very well. So thank you for reaching out, and I look forward to working with you and to seeing you in the soonest time possible. Thank you, and God bless you.
We are pleased to introduce our pastor, Reverend Alonzo Cox, to lead us in prayer. Thank you.
Welcome to our annual St. Martin de Porres Parish Women's Day celebration. As you can see, we are celebrating Women's Day virtually due to the coronavirus pandemic. I thank our Women's Day committee for working so hard and continuing the tradition of celebrating this milestone. During the month of March, we continue to thank Almighty God for the gift that women provide for our community. Here at St. Martin de Porres Parish, we are blessed to have so many dedicated and loyal women who love this parish community so much. And on behalf of the entire parish here at St. Martin de Porres, as pastor, I thank all of you. I thank you for your service. I thank you for your loyalty, and I thank you for your love, not just for this community, but for the broader community in Bedford-Stuyvesant. During this month of March, we continue to pray for the encouragement of all of our women, that the Lord will continue to bless them as they give a great example to the younger generation. And so on this Women's Day, I take this opportunity to wish all of you a blessed Women's Day, a blessed month in which we're able to thank the Lord for the gift of who you are, and to allow the Holy Spirit to strengthen you and to guide you ever so closer to the heart of Christ the Lord. Happy Women's Day.
Good afternoon. My name is Wilhelmina Randall. I'm your host today for Woman to Woman. Today we're going to be talking to various women regarding resiliency, their faith, and the pandemic. My first guest today is Anne Marie Stranislaus. She's a real estate broker, owner of Reserve Realty. She's a mother and a grandmother. Welcome, Marie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Anne Marie.
Yes, Anne Marie. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that, and I want to say that, my most important role is grandma first. And I want to thank you very much for first even considering me, because, I just take what I do for granted. And I know you mentioned mother and grandmother, but, the business itself is important, but my most important role now in this stage of my life is my grandma role. So I'm very blessed to be able to say that.
How many grandchildren do you have?
I have two, a boy and a girl.
Oh, are they elementary school?
Not yet. They're still pretty, they're in nursery school right now, but they're so cute. I spend my first thing in the morning making sure that they have a nice hot meal, old fashioned style, before they hit the street. And then after that, I could start thinking about the calls and whatever. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So going back to before the pandemic.
Yes.
How was business?
Honestly, business was, my business, and one of the things that I enjoy about the business is that every day I'm never sure what's going to happen, right? Because my business is always up and down and up and down. And, somebody could call and say, hey, I want to sell this, $3 million house today. And tomorrow, the house that I sold today, they could call and go, oh, whoopsies, I changed my mind. But that's the part about the business that I love the most, that I'm never guaranteed the same day. So my business was great, before the pandemic.
Okay. So once the pandemic hit, how long was your office closed?
Whenever he said that only essential workers should be on the street, that's when we actually stopped doing everything, because we said, well, we're not essential, so let's stay off the street because, we're licensed, right? And the worst thing that we want to do is put ourselves in a situation where our license could be in jeopardy. Especially, in my business, I could only speak for myself. In my business, all I do is real estate, and the property management, and I'm required, to have a license in order to do that. So I can't jeopardize that ever in any way. So they stayed off the street. Whenever they started that, that's when we stopped. When they said it was time for us to go back, I think that was a couple of months. Then we started softly going back and following all the COVID disclosures and things like that.
Right. Did you have to let go of any employees?
Well, we don't function with employees. We're all independent contractors, so that actually worked, So I know that some of my guys were able to file unemployment, to make up for that situation, because it allowed us to do that, but now we're back.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So once the market slowed down, you started saying you went to more of the management side.
So so it's a long story how I ended up with the management company. So as a licensed realtor, before I actually went out on my own, I've always managed other people's properties, and not to the extent as a manager, but as a courtesy while I was running a real estate office for other people. And then when I went out on my own the first time in 2007, I bought a Century 21 franchise because the money was flowing like water back then, you know, and I bought a Century 21 franchise in Park Slope. And, and everything was great. And then when the market crashed and everybody lost their money in the stock market, I ended up sucking the life out of my 203 and my 401k in order to resuscitate my business. And I eventually closed anyway, because I just couldn't sustain myself until we got out of that hump.
Right.
So the lesson that I learned back then was, any money that I have should be tied up in something that I can't touch.
Right.
That was lesson number one, expensive lesson. Lesson number two was, I need to do something else for when this happens again, that I could sustain myself while I'm waiting for the market to change again, because the market always changes.
Right.
So that's when I opened up in 2012, that's when I opened up the property management company, because I said that will always give me money on a monthly basis.
Right.
While I'm waiting for the 3 months, 6 months closing for a house to come to fruition.
Right.
So that's when the property management business started, and then I started gradually just doing like a boutique, if you will, kind of property management, 4 families, 2 families, little people that had their little house and they didn't want to be bothered knocking on the door or listening to the complaints from the tenants. Now I have bigger units because I've taken the time to expand that business. So during the pandemic, that's what's actually sustained me.
And did the pandemic cause the management side to increase more because did more people like leave the state, or they just were afraid to come out of their homes to take care of their properties?
Well, it's believe it or not so much that they were afraid to come out. It's just that, the word on the street was, well, you don't have to pay your rent because, of the pandemic, and a lot of the soft, and when I say soft, I don't mean soft because they didn't want to knock on the door. I meant like the smaller landlords that, that didn't have the resources. Those were the people that actually got hurt. So those are more of the people now that's knocking on my door because they're tired,
Right.
and what happens a lot of times with small investors is that they're so emotionally attached.
Right.
They need somebody like me that could come in, and I don't have to be hard. I just have to be consistent.
Right.
And sometimes it's just a matter of training a tenant. Listen, you can live. We want you to live, but there's certain responsibilities. You have to pay rent, just like you have to keep the light on, and you have to pay your gas bill and pay for your car. That's how you have to pay the rent. And if you can't pay the rent, the idea is not to hide in a corner. Sorry. The idea is, sorry. The idea is not to hide in a corner. The idea is to say something. So
Right.
maybe you don't want to say it to your landlord, but then please say it to somebody so that they can help you. Maybe the conversation is, I can't pay, the $2,000, but I could pay $1,500. That's a conversation because you're trying to do something,
Right. So I know there's been a lot of talk about cancel rent. Do you find that the tenants are taking advantage of that?
I mean, thank God, and I really have to say that because, the landlords that I'm working with, I also explain to them, listen, you know what, you can get $1,500 or $1,300 regularly now, even though I know you were getting $2,000, or you can get $0. So let's be mindful of everything that's going on out there, and let's work something out with each of the tenants. We just have to be more copious with our notes, and keep track of everything. And let's work with the tenants, because if we're working with them, everybody will be able to sustain themselves. So that's real conversation. I have that with the landlords, and I have that with the tenants. And so far it's been working.
Right.
Everybody's getting something.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So that's how I've been working it.
Since your work takes you outside every day, were you concerned about catching the virus?
Not to the extent that I was, that it sort of hindered me from doing what I had to do. Right? Because one of the things that I did stop doing was taking my clients in my car, because that was normally like a traditional way of doing real estate, right? You pick up the clients, you bring them to the house, and you show them the house. So now we don't bring the clients in our cars anymore. And of course, I have all the necessary things in my car: the boots for your shoes, the hand sanitizer, the gloves, and mask in case we come into somebody that's not prepared. And then the state sent down a bunch of disclosures that we also have to walk with every time we go out to show a piece of property. So we have that we have to deal with. A lot of times they would send it to us in advance, so we would have them fill it out. So at the time that we're going in, everybody's aware of everything that's going on. We don't do open houses to the extent where there's like an influx of people, and everybody's running around, oh, excuse me. So we don't do that anymore. Everything is strictly by appointments.
Okay.
And, we just exercise caution, more caution than not, You know,
Right.
so I know who I'm meeting. I would already have a disclosure from them saying that, you know, everything is good.
Okay.
And I limit my involvement with people even coming into my office. And my agents also exercise the same situation. So, you know, we were more cautious. And one of the things that I said was, since I must interact with people in order to do my business, then I need to not be in a supermarket, in the drugstore, in all of the other places where I will meet people. So I basically work and go home.
Okay. But I know you said you have your little grands home. Weren't you worried that, you know, you may bring the virus home to them?
Yeah. So let me see, I must have taken 5 of those tests, you know, since everything started, you know, and I was actually worried about them bringing stuff home to me, you know, because they're the ones that's out with people that I don't know. I know who I'm interacting with on a regular basis, but, you know, we're very cautious. What we did was we all live in the same house, you know, everybody's on a different floor,
Okay.
you know, so we exercise caution that way. And so far, you know, we've been truly blessed that nothing's been happening.
Right. How has COVID affected you personally?
You know, physically, I could say, you know, thank God I don't have any challenges. You know, my mom did in fact pass, but she didn't pass from COVID. You know, she had other ailments that she passed from. And I do know a number of families that they lost people because of COVID, you know, so, you know, just being able to console them but being removed is so, you know, it's disheartening, and, you know, you want to be there for your friends, but you can't even give them a hug. You know, those are the things I think that just breaks my heart the most. You know, you could cry with them, but you know, you're on
From
a phone.
afar.
Yes, and it's so far and it's so removed, and it's horrible. It's really horrible.
I know you're a faithful woman, so how has your faith played a part in you getting through this thus far through this pandemic?
You know, I am very, very, very much faithful. I mean, you know, one of the things that attracted me, you know, 10 years ago when I started coming into Holy Rosary, was, aside from the fact that the church is so beautiful, was the fact that everybody was so connected to each other. And it took me a little while because I have to be that hands-on, wonderful, smiley kind of person on a regular basis. That's actually not my personality. You know, I'm much more reserved than, you know, I could stay home all day long and not talk to a person and I'll be okay. You know, but my job forces me to be this person. So I love the fact that Holy Rosary had this family dynamics, but they allowed me to take my time to work my way in, you know, until I realized that was such a good fit, you know, so I miss that, you know. And strangely enough, I really miss getting to host on Sunday. That to me is like that thing. Like I go on Zoom, you know, on FaceTime, and I do the mass, and I have friends that are Baptists and Pentecostal, and, you know, and they're in church for 5 hours or whatever length of time, you know, and they always make fun of me because, oh, they go, you're Catholic. What is it, like 5 minutes? I said, yeah, but you know, we stand up, we kneel down, we say, I miss that whole, you know, that whole thing. I really do miss it. Ash Wednesday was the first time I said, you know what? No matter what, I am going to get my ashes. Whatever happens is going to happen because I'm going to go get my ashes. I go away when I'm away and it's Ash Wednesday, I find a church. It doesn't matter where I am in the world. I find a church for Ash Wednesday. So this Ash Wednesday, I was here. I said, I'm going to go get my ashes and I'm just going to have to deal with it. So I was so grateful. And there was a host, and I had the host, and I said, wow, I just felt so elevated the whole day that I'm looking forward to coming back to church. I can't begin to tell you.
Well, good. So now that the vaccine is out, how do you feel about taking it?
Well, this may, this may not come out right, but I'll say it. I was waiting to see if there was going to be an apocalypse before I go to take the vaccine, but I think it was this week that they started saying, 55 and under, 55 and over, if you didn't have an underlying medical situation, which I do not, so I was waiting. I was hoping that they were going to get there in June or July, but now they're saying 55 and older. So I sort of qualify there. So I believe I told my daughter if she can get me an appointment one day next week, that I'll just go and get the vaccine, because I don't want to be sick. I'm not on any medication, thank God, now, and I want to stay that way. And I really need to do more business. And I won't feel safe, going into people's houses and asking them crazy questions. Some of my sellers, honestly, when we go to show their homes, I make them step outside. So this way I'm only inside with the one buyer or the whatever the combination of buyers are, and it's only us in the house, and not us and the homeowner. I ask them to step out, because I don't want to die. It's my time now to make money for me. My kids are grown and doing their thing. This is my money now.
Exactly.
So I need to, I want to embrace my career and my ability, and do all the things that God put me here to do, and and touch all the people that I'm supposed to make millionaires out of. Now is my time.
I hear you.
So I need to do that.
So now, so I guess once you get the vaccine, then I guess I can look forward to seeing you in church on a regular basis.
Yes, ma'am. I used to look forward to jumping it up on Sundays and running down the block,
Great.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
Wonderful. Well, this has been very enlightening. I'm glad you took some time to speak to us this morning.
Oh, of course.
And hope your business continues to do well.
Praise the Lord.
That you'll be the millionaire that you deserve to be.
Yes, exactly. That I've been teetering. It's my time now, and I'm looking forward to coming back to church and fellowshipping with everybody, and, and just doing all the things that, listen, what? I believe that I was great. I raised 3 kids. They're all doing, they're all young adults doing their thing. And there's more for me now. And now I don't have constraints, because I don't have to drop off and pick up and do all of that stuff. So I'm excited.
Good.
I'm excited. Good. Thank you so much.
Welcome. My next guest is Mrs. Doreen Mondasaur. She's retired, an investment property owner, and mother. Welcome to Woman, Doreen.
Thanks, Nina.
Prior to the pandemic, you and your significant other, Jerry, were traveling, socializing with friends, and simply enjoying your golden years. Then all of a sudden, everything came to a halt. How has that been for you?
It has not been so good because, again, Jerry's a dancer. He likes to dance. So, and again, as I said, he can dance in his sleep. So we play music and we dance. We don't go out much because some of his friends don't respect the fact that they should wear masks. So going around them is a little scary for me, so I don't go. So we stay home a lot. We don't do much.
Well, I was going to ask you about getting exercise, but since you're home dancing, I guess that's a good form of exercise.
Yeah. Also, one of my buildings is a three-family building with 3 floors, and I go up and down the stairs all the time. So that's the exercise.
Oh, okay, that is good exercise.
Yes.
How did it make you feel to miss Holy Week last year?
It was traumatic. I couldn't have imagined ever missing Holy Week. I remember when the pandemic started, Father announced at Mass that there'll be no more Mass on Sunday, no more Mass period. The church is going to be closed. This was like a shock. I had never in all of my life thought I would not be able to go to church. Holy Week is very important to me. I miss the symbolism of Good Friday, Easter Sunday. And my daughter, as some of you know, is handicapped, and she lives upstate at her home. I bring her home every Easter to receive the sacraments. I have to thank Father Cox because even though he knew her situation, he allowed her to make First Communion and Confirmation. And she looks forward to coming home and going up and receiving the sacraments. So that I miss, and all of my friends know her at church, so they understand.
When the churches finally were able to reopen, how long did it take you before you went back?
I went back pretty soon, and I go on Saturdays because it's less crowded. So I went back right away.
We are all empathetic to people who have lost their jobs and are struggling to survive. As a landlord, how do you feel when you hear people say they want to cancel rents?
I feel it's unfair to landlords because we all still have mortgages to pay, and mortgages are not forgiven. We can hold them back maybe, but the bank does not forgive them, so we still have to pay them in the long run. So it was not fair to landlords. Also, one of my tenants lost his job. I was very nice to him. It seemed as though he was not collecting unemployment. He got a job and he kept saying, he lost his job because of COVID, okay? So he kept saying, Miss Doreen, I got a job, I'm going to pay you. I said, well, you owe over $5,000. He said, okay, no problem, I'm making a lot of money. Every week he would say, I haven't gotten paid yet, I haven't gotten paid yet. And then one day I saw his door open, he had moved out. He left me a nice little note saying, thank you for your kindness, Miss Doreen, blah, blah, blah. And that was it.
And your other tenants, were they able to pay their rents?
Yes, 2 of them moved out. I may have said that before. 2 of them moved out, and one died in his room, but the others pay their rent. They either work from home or collecting unemployment. So I've been fortunate. But this particular gentleman, when he died, they called me and told me, if I had his keys. So yes, I told the police they can go into his room. They did. Found him dead. He'd been probably dead about 3 days. And I had to wait for the EMS to come, then the medical examiner, then the coroner. That took almost all day. I was so scared I didn't go in the house. I just sat in my car and prayed and prayed and prayed.
Yeah, that had to be a pretty traumatic experience.
And I called in some people with hazmat suits to clean the room, and I said, throw everything out. I really never asked him what was his religion, faith, or whatever. But when we cleaned out his room, I found a 6-inch statue of the Blessed Mother in his things. But I couldn't bring myself to pick it up. I was scared of anything in that room.
That's understandable.
Yes. So maybe he was Catholic.
How has COVID affected you?
I have been well, but I wear my mask and my gloves. I keep a box of gloves in my car and a box of masks in my car on the passenger seat. So, and I, of course, Lysol. So I'm very, very careful. when I go to the house, I wear my mask all of the time and gloves before I touch the doorknob.
I know when COVID struck, a lot of people had lots of plans. Did you have any plans that you had to forego?
Yes, Jerry and we did 6 trips in 2019, and we were planning to do at least 6 in 2020. We had 4 trips scheduled, and we had to cancel all. We lost a lot of money because nobody was refunding, telling us we can do another trip another time. The airline, the same thing. We were going to New Orleans for Red Dress Run Day. That was canceled, so we didn't go, of course. We were going to Canada on a cruise. That was canceled. I can't think of the other 2, but we had 4 trips planned. And then the year before, we went to Cuba. We went to Israel on a church trip with Father Andy's church, and Palestine, Jordan. So we did a lot in 2019. So that made up for the lack of doing anything in 2020.
Well, that's a lot. Well, you did enough in 2019 to make up for what you didn't do in 2020.
Yes, yes.
Are you afraid of catching the virus?
No, I'm not afraid of catching the virus. I wear gloves and masks. I spray with Lysol, and I take my vitamins and calcium. I also take additional supplements of vitamin D and zinc. So I feel pretty safe.
Have you taken the vaccine?
Yes, I got my second vaccine yesterday. I got the first one like 3 weeks ago and the second one yesterday.
Did you have any side effects?
My arm hurt terribly. And this morning I was in a lot of pain, my side, my hip. I took 2 Motrin, and here I am.
Thank you. When church was closed, what did you do to feed your spiritual need?
I prayed a lot. I read the Bible. I would think that's it. Jerry and I prayed a lot. But of course, when church came back online, I might have been one of the first ones to get online and watch Mass.
For a lot of people, going to church, a big part of it is fellowshipping with the other parishioners. Do you miss that?
Yes, I miss that. I missed fellowship, but I'm phone friends with most of my church fellow parishioners. So we talk on the phone a lot. We also text and WhatsApp. But what I miss most is the face-to-face, talking with my friends and laughing and stuff. But nothing beats in-person fellowship.
Right. I agree. Well, Doreen, it has been a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I hope you stay well, be safe, and hopefully I will see you in person shortly.
Thank you very much, Mina. Bye.
Bye. Now I'm going to welcome my next guest to the show. Her name is Maureen Simonette. She is a senior director for a nonprofit, wife, mother, and grandmother. Welcome to the show, Maureen.
Thank you for having me.
Last year, when COVID hit and church had to close, how did that make you feel?
Initially, I thought it was okay. We were still doing streaming, so we would get up every Sunday morning, and we would watch and participate. But the participation is a lot different when you're streaming and you're not doing the fellowship of seeing the normal people that you see at church. And I honestly, didn't realize it until church finally opened and we were able to go back. The first day of walking into St. Peter Claver, I literally cried. It was, I'm tearing up now. It was the plastic on the Stations of the Cross. It was no holy water. It was, I think what really, really got me was the caution tape. To have caution tape in church, you know, that, you know, you don't have caution tape in church. Church is where you go for solace, where everything is okay, where when the world is going mad and like in a pandemic, you should be able to go and sit, and to see caution tape, I think, just really threw me. But on the other hand, it was really good to see people again. And, you know, each week a little more people came. Still not what it was. But it's good to see people. It's good to see that church family. And I think that was the other thing. You know, we always say church family, but we don't think, or maybe I shouldn't say we, I should say me. You know, I say church family, but didn't think of it truly as the family that it is until I didn't have it. Right. Until I couldn't go to church and I couldn't see people like you. It was strange. It was really, really strange. But to go back is the understanding that this was truly a blessing. Right. I thought more so of those countries where you can't come together and you can't worship as you would want to. It made me think more of what must that feel like? You know, because while we could worship in our homes, you know, we knew at some point we'd be able to go back, but those people can't. Right. So true. Prior to the pandemic, you used to travel for work. Now that you're home, do you feel you're working longer hours or less? Oh, I'm probably working longer hours, and it's for me, it's not due to just to the pandemic. It's due to the racial unrest throughout the country. I work for a nonprofit that brings minority-owned businesses together with corporations so that the corporations can buy goods and services from them. And after George Floyd, more members joined. We more than doubled in 2020 the number of members we brought in 2019. So last year we brought in 80 new corporate members. And as of today, we've brought in, I think it's 60 for 2021. Corporations are waking up and realizing that they need to use minority-owned businesses in their supply chain. So it's an interesting time all around. Yeah, because most nonprofits are suffering. They're not getting, you know, the donations as they normally would, but you don't have that problem. You know, we're very blessed. We're very blessed. And it's exciting to know that we're helping minority-owned businesses to make those connections, because we're still doing things like matchmakers, and we're still doing, we still did a conference virtually last year. So there's more work because we're not used to doing those things virtually. So, you know, there's definitely a learning curve. But for me, because I handle membership, there's a lot more people to touch, more conversations to be had, because while you're bringing on those new members, you still have, you know, those tried and true members who've been here for years, right, who you still have to service. Okay. So I guess it's fair to say there have been no COVID layoffs at your employment. We've had some shifts in employment. I don't know. I wouldn't know what to call those, though. Okay. It's been reported that some couples are having difficulty existing in the same space 24/7. With that in mind, how are you and Dan managing? You know what? We're actually pretty good, and you know, we love each other, but we also have enough space. So I work on the third floor; he's on the second floor. So there's that space to have time alone, because I will admit I'm one of those people who do need time alone on a daily basis. So I'll wake up early and I will, you know, go into another room to do devotions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much in my office for a full day. I come down for lunch and we'll have lunch together.
Mm-hmm.
But I think things have changed too. We've started doing the New York Times crossword puzzle together. We're still in the mini stage. We haven't gotten to the bigger one yet.
Right.
But there's another thing called the spelling bee, and we'll sit and do that together. And for Lent, we decided to do a Bible study together. So it's a 40-day Bible study, and one of us will read the devotion, another one will read the Bible verses, and then we'll discuss it.
Oh.
And it's really interesting because we've been together for a really long time, but there's still stuff for us to talk about, and
right,
when
finding out new things about each other.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's actually a lot of fun, and days get away from us where we may miss one of the Bible studies, but in the next day we'll do two.
Mm-hmm.
We'll play that catch up, and then every other weekend we have our youngest daughter and our grandkids, and we'll cook. And we'll all get together and cook.
Mm-hmm.
So they've cooked chicken fried rice. We've made egg rolls. We've done pasta with meat sauce, and all these different things that we've done, and we've pulled out the board games, things that we probably would not have done before, and the time that we were taking to be able to talk to each other. I think in the beginning we did a lot of Zoom calls with the family. We haven't been doing those as much lately, but I also think that's because since things have opened up a little bit, the kids are coming over a little bit more, and we're going to see them a bit more.
Okay. Do you have elderly parents or relatives that you're caring for or you have not been able to see?
So Dan's mother lives with us. She lives on the first floor, and we're in our second and third. And then my mother lives probably about 15 minutes away. So we've seen his mother regularly. My mother, for the first 3 months when everything shut down, I had not seen my mother. And that was the first time literally in my life that I had not seen my mother for that long.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, going over to drop something off, and my mom lives in a 4-family and 2 of my daughters live in the building too. So they're all together. And I remember it was the beginning, and it was like something she couldn't get. Everybody was looking for toilet paper and paper towels. And I was dropping stuff off for her. And she came to the door, and she was getting ready to open the door. And my daughter closed the door back. And she said, "I love you, Mommy, but you can't come in." And my mother looked at her like she had lost her mind. And I was like, she's absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
She's absolutely right. I shouldn't go in there.
Right.
So, I could talk to them through the door, and I left the stuff. But it was heartbreaking to look at her and like, she can't come in. What do you mean she can't come in? It's been rough. Dan's mom hasn't left the house since March.
Wow.
So this has been a really, really tough time, and for her it's there's usually a lot of people who would come and visit.
Mm-hmm.
We had to stop that.
Right.
Because both of our mothers are elderly. We can't make them get sick.
Right.
It's a scary time, and especially for his mother. His mother doesn't even I don't think really understands what's going on.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's just that people aren't here.
I know you mentioned that your daughter and your granddaughter comes every other weekend. Are you helping them with virtual learning?
So, it's our daughter, 2 granddaughters, and our grandson. Actually, our daughter helps the other three with their homework. So she's actually really, really good at that. Really good at being the auntie. School's been a little difficult because across the board, all of them are doing something different. So our daughter's she's doing all at home. Our oldest granddaughter is doing kind of a hybrid. So she's going in part-time, staying home part-time. I think it's like 2 days 1 week, 3 days another week. The little one is in pre-K, and she was supposed to only, I think, go to school for 2 days, but only 5 kids signed up for the whole pre-K. So they let her come for 5 days a week. And she's very excited about going to school every day, except last week there was a COVID scare. So she's home for 2 weeks.
Oh.
And then our grandson is staying, he does all homeschooling. So, it depends on what the parents want. But I don't think on any level it's what we would have liked to see. When things shut down, I looked at my granddaughter and, she was graduating from elementary school, getting ready to go into junior high school. I've had conversations with her. I'm like, do you have any new friends? And she doesn't, because, they sit 6 feet apart, or they're going to school from home. So how do you meet people?
I was just going to ask you, how is socializing for them?
I think the only one who's doing any real socializing is the one that's in pre-K, and that's only because she has this huge personality, and honestly and truthfully, even if we tried to stop her from socializing, she'd figure out a way.
I know educators are saying that this year, because of virtual schooling, that a lot of kids are going to be behind academically. Do you see that with your children and grandchildren?
Lauren goes to a Catholic school who, I have to say, they're on the money. I think the other ones are going to be having difficulty. I really do think so, because, when they have questions, they can put the question in. But my daughter was telling me that with her daughter, she may not get a response until the following day. So if you have a question, how do you do the homework?
Right.
And then, Lauren was talking about when she would have questions for class. The teachers are paying more attention to the people who are in the classroom than the people who are online. So I think those are the things that we're going to see, that there are some issues with in the future.
Okay. So how has COVID affected you personally?
It's just a huge span. So Dan and I both had COVID in late March, early April. I got it first and worse. And I know that it kind of knocked me totally out. During the time that we had it, our next door neighbor had it. So it took me, a couple of weeks to get out of it. First day I got back, Dan sat me down to tell me that our next door neighbor had died.
Oh.
On January 26th, I got a call to say that my brother had passed from COVID. And I hadn't even known he was sick. He lives in Florida. Watching all the things where, you have people saying, COVID is not real. We shouldn't have to wear masks. We shouldn't have to close down. The day that we hit 500,000 people had died in the United States from COVID, I kind of lost it. To think that many people have lost their lives, and there are still people out there who don't think they think this is a hoax. It's not real.
Right.
I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. And I miss my family. I miss spending time with, the kids, and yeah, we get to spend time with the grandkids, but it's not like we normally do. Usually in August, we do this huge family vacation where we can unplug and we can laugh and we can talk about like real stuff, because we're not worrying about that next thing we have to do. We got to go to work tomorrow. It's just a relaxation, it's relaxation. And in 2019, we went away, and I think it was 16 of us. And we do a big family vacation, and we do these. Every year, we used to do these barbecues in the park, and they were huge. We call it the Simonette Family and Friends Barbecue, and when you talk about all those times that you're like, oh, I need to have dinner with this person, or I need to call this person, and it just doesn't happen. We got to a point where we were just like, we're going to have this barbecue, and whoever comes in, whoever, and we do it in Prospect Park, and we'd have a ball. And I remember last year, people calling and saying, well, are you having it this year? And I'm like, we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, barbecue. I miss those things.
Right.
I really, really miss those things.
So let me ask you this. Do you still have lingering effects from COVID?
Oh, definitely. My breathing is a little off. My job, I talk a lot. I'm on a lot of calls, and especially now that I can't see people in person, I'm on calls back to back to back. And like everyone else, there's, all the meetings, everyone has that Zoom fatigue. So by the end of the day, my breathing can be, it's really hard to breathe. And I'm exhausted because, and I realize it's because the breathing is hard.
Right.
I also, I lose words. So as I'm talking, like I can see the word, it's like right there in front of me. And I just can't get it. And sometimes I was having a conversation with a client, and he was saying that, his business is about tools, and most people don't know about tools. And, I'm trying to, talk to him. And I was like, well, I know about tools because we always had tools in the house because my father was and here is like, me talking about my father, and I have always been, daddy's girl. And I could not remember the name of what he did. I remember now he was a carpenter.
Oh.
But we were on the call for a whole, like 20 minutes more, and I could not remember the word.
Wow.
It can be frustrating.
Yeah.
I present a lot at work, and if you can't remember, it could be something that I've said 1,000 times, and then the word just
won't come.
It's really, really frustrating. My doctor says that it will go away. She says it's just going to take time.
Okay. Do you think having COVID has deepened your faith?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for not just my faith, but the faith Dan has, the faith my mother has. I mean, when I talk about during, being in the midst of COVID and knowing that they were praying for me, that they were listening to God as to what to do for me. I don't think that that's something that as humans we do on our own. It is definitely God's in the midst of all of this. I think it would be so much more difficult for all of us if we didn't have that faith that, he is going to get us through this all. And I also believe that, for all the crazy things that happen in our lives, that there's a reason for it, that we need to, kind of take a step back and understand that whatever we're going through, in all these difficult times. And I think that we need to understand that, yes, we're in the midst of a pandemic. Yes, there's racial inequalities going on, and we're fighting through this right now. But people are going through like regular, everyday things. And it is only through God that we're getting through this. I mean, I've watched, for my mother lost her brother last year. in the midst of COVID. And it wasn't COVID, but she still lost her brother.
Right.
You know, when he was going to be 100 years old, and for like the last 2 years, all she had talked about was going to Jamaica to celebrate his birthday.
Mm.
And he died, and she couldn't go to say goodbye to her last living brother.
Oh, yeah.
We're still going through stuff, hard stuff, you know. People are still battling cancer, you know. Couples are still breaking up. I mean, things are still happening.
Right.
And, you know, if it wasn't for our faith to get us through, I don't think, you know, we could get through it.
Right. Well, Maureen, I want to thank you for spending time with me this afternoon.
Well, thank you.
And it was a
me.
pleasure.
Absolutely.
So I wish you stay well, stay healthy, and hopefully we'll get to see each other in person very soon.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see you. This was good. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome our next guest to the show, Mrs. Sally Lott. Mrs. Lott is a widow, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and great-great-grandmother. She is also one of our honored parish pillars. Welcome, Mrs. Lott.
Thank you for welcoming me. How are you today?
I am great, thank you. It is great to see you.
Great to see you too.
Great. So, Mrs. Lott, prior to the pandemic, you went to church faithfully every Sunday and during the week. And then all of a sudden, the pandemic hit and church was closed. What did you do to feed your spiritual needs?
Well, I was thinking about the first thing that I've been doing for a long time. On Sunday mornings, I'm one of these early people anyway, and I always watch a pre video mass at 5:30 in the morning before I get ready for church. So, unfortunately, I had just gotten cable, so I was able to turn it into get NET, the National Evangelization Television, and really found so much there that I was really very surprised. I'm able to go to church on Monday to Friday, and it's a live mass from the St. Joseph's Cathedral, and also on Sundays it was usually the day that we did the rosary. And I was not born a Catholic, so I only did the rosary on Sunday. Now I do the rosary 7 days a week. So that has really fulfilled me a great deal and given me some comfort to know that my faith is not cut off just because I can't walk to church or ride to church. So I'm really grateful for having television and having gotten my cable just before the pandemic.
How did you feel about missing Holy Week last year? And what did you do to celebrate Easter?
Well, Holy Week is just not, I don't remember that much from last year for some reason. Of course, as I said, I had access to getting the live mass from the Cathedral. And I really, it's just a vague thing for me from last year. I really don't remember what I did. I know I have contact with my family, so that's helped me a great deal. But I don't remember exactly what happened last year.
Well, yeah, I don't remember what happened yesterday, so I can understand that. Once the parish was able to live stream the Mass, did you watch the Mass at St. Martin de Porres Parish?
When I could get it, I did watch the Mass. I saw Father Kingsley a couple of times there. And sometimes when I couldn't get the Mass, before I got into NET, I was able to get the Mass from Toronto, Canada. So I was fulfilled in many ways, not only in our country, but elsewhere.
Okay, so you stayed connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Since church opened back up, I have not seen you there. You have not returned. What will it take for you to come back?
Well, I did return because I remembered that's a Sunday, your husband offered to drive me home, and I said to him, I'm going to walk. And because, first of all, I hadn't been tested, although I had been to the doctor and asked about being tested, and she said if I had no symptoms, don't worry about it. But I'm always concerned about my not being, not feeling sick or having any of the symptoms, but you never know when you can pass on some symptoms or pass on the disease to somebody else. So that was my main concern.
Okay. Have you been vaccinated yet?
No.
Do you plan on being vaccinated?
Well, I had a big discussion with my high school friend of 70 years, and we were talking about waiting for the Johnson & Johnson one and getting the one vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll see my doctor next Thursday, so I'll discuss more about it with her.
For some seniors at church, that is the only social activity they have. Have you missed the socializing part of church?
Well, I think I come in contact with people a little more than just in church, because I have friends, church friends that I equating with outside of the church. So I can't say entirely that I missed that fellowship. Only thing I did miss the fellowship really was Fred's nice coffee.
So, Mrs. Lott, it's been reported that many seniors are suffering from depression due to isolation, loneliness. Are you suffering from depression at all?
I don't think so. I have a round-the-clock family. I have my son and 5 grandchildren in the Emirates, and they send me videos. We talk to each other, and we have something like Zoom or FaceTime or whatever it is. And so I see them, and then my daughter calls me every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, my daughter Lisa. Then I have another 2 friends that we communicate with each other during the day, and we have gone taking assessor rides. One of the friends of we're taking assessor ride together to the doctor. So I really haven't missed that much, and I think really being an only child, I can be a hermit for a while. So I think maybe that's helped to contribute to the fact that I'm not depressed, and there are things I know that I can do to keep myself busy. There's so many things to do to keep busy. And I think that's the main thing, keeping busy and having some contact with friends or neighbors that you can't see physically, but you can contact them otherwise.
Okay. What advice would you give to seniors who are suffering from depression?
Well, hopefully they have some human contact, that someone they can talk to. And now you can almost do everything on the internet. If it's really that serious, maybe she can get some counseling, some help from someone on the internet. I know depression can be a very serious condition for many people. And maybe find a hobby. People have found hobbies and found other people that have similar hobbies, and they really don't have any physical contact. And there are a lot of things that you can do, but you need to reach out and not isolate yourself too much, because that can be depressing when you feel that you're all alone. And remembering that you're really not alone, even if you're physically separated from a human being, that God is always with us. And I think that's one thing that's helped me a great deal, that knowing that this too shall pass, and that I'm not confined to be alone by myself, that my faith will keep me going, and knowing that I'm just not alone, that there's someone, this being always with me. It's helped a great deal.
My next question, as we get older or even young, exercise is very important.
Yeah,
so how are you getting in your exercise?
Well, I guess you can give me a D- there. I have a sitting cycle that I remember sometime, and my footstool, it rocks, so I exercise from my knees down to my feet. But And sometimes I remember to do some squats while I'm holding on. But I'm really not very good at keeping a regular pace of exercising. I see a lot of people have a major routine where they exercise every morning or whatever, but have never been that much for a person of exercise, which maybe that's something, I know that's something that I really need to do as I'm getting older and getting a little stiffer and disjointed, and not being able to stretch as much as I can. But as I said, I get a D- there.
Okay, well, I think I get a D- as well. I really need to step it up as well. When was the last time you saw your family members?
Well, physically, during the summer, I saw two of my granddaughters and a great granddaughter, and I've seen two of my grandsons. We were outside though; we weren't in the house.
Mm-hmm.
We were outside, and but that's it. Physically, I haven't seen any of them, except as I said,
FaceTime and
they're FaceTiming and that. So even my granddaughter, it's near here. Well, she's one of the grandchildren I saw during the summer. And she always called me and asked, "Do you need anything?" And she used to come and leave things for me if I needed something. And when I wasn't going shopping, she would leave things by my door when it was really serious. But other than that, no physical contact.
Okay. Are you going out shopping now for yourself, or do
Well, my food shopping I do for myself now, and any pharmaceutical needs that I have, I order them and have them delivered.
Oh, okay. Has COVID affected you personally?
Not so far. I keep my distance and my mask on.
Okay, good. And my final question for you today, Mrs. Lott, is how has your faith helped you deal with the pandemic?
Well, as I said when we first started talking, that I discovered that I can use my computer and see mass 6 times a week, and do the rosary 7 days a week. And also, NET has been very informative, and I've learned more about the Catholic Church since I've been here, but held up in my home with the pandemic. There are things that I didn't know about the Catholic Church, about saints, and so I really, it's given me an opportunity to increase my knowledge about the Catholic Church. That much I can say.
You know, you're a very unusual senior because not too many embrace technology the way you have. You're very up on things.
Well, not as much as I used to.
You're doing Zoom, so you're doing pretty good.
Well, that's because of my son in the Emirates. He is he's one of these techies, and I have a granddaughter here is another one too. So keeping in contact with them has helped me with the little technology that I have.
Well, Mrs. Lott, I want to thank you for speaking with me today. It's been nice seeing you. I cannot wait to see you in church so I can get one of those motherly hugs that I miss so much.
Well, you have to do like this, like I do my grandchildren.
Well, Mrs. Lott,
I love seeing your smiling face and your wonderful husband.
Well, stay safe, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon.
You do the same, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon too. And I hope this summer before the summer we can see each other and not feel self-conscious about what's going on in the world.
Good afternoon. We'd like to welcome Kathy Ann McLean to our show today, Woman to Woman. Ms. McLean is an RN, and she holds degrees in MBA, BSN, BSHA, and is the Director of Training and Education at Menominee Medical Center. Welcome to the show, Ms. McLean.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the warm welcome.
Thank you. So we're just going to jump right into it. As you know, we're talking about resiliency and faith in the midst of a pandemic. So as a trainer, did you treat patients on a regular basis prior to the COVID surge?
But prior to the COVID surge, I was still a director. I did not actually work at the bedside with patients, but I do have a lot of patient experience because I've been a nurse for 32 years.
Wow. Okay. So I know nurses, have pretty good schedules. So prior to that, what's like a normal schedule for a nurse? I know some are on like 4 days and off 3, work double shifts. And so what's the normal working rotation for a nurse?
So at Maimonides, we do 12-hour shifts, and it's normally they do 3 12-hour shifts per week. And in the month, they do 1 week that they have 4 12-hour shifts. The shift starts at 7 a and ends at 7:30 p, or 7 p and ends at 7:30 a.
Oh, okay. That sounds like good hours.
It's great.
So now we have the surge. What did their work schedule look like after that?
So pretty much here, our work schedules remain pretty much the same because we brought in a lot of agency nurses, but we've had occasions where a nurse will work her 12 hours, sometimes up to 16 hours, rest, and then take on another 8-hour shift. But you must have a minimum of 4 hours rest in between.
Okay. So before this surge happened, I don't think anyone knew what PPE was. Did you experience a shortage of PPE equipment?
I am proud to say no. We were and still are fully staffed with PPEs. We do not have an issue with that.
Did you have a shortage of ventilators?
We did not really run into a shortage. When we thought we were going to get hit with a shortage, we got from another facility. We still are okay right now, and even in the height of the pandemic, we were good, but we were surged, very highly surged.
Good. You were one of the lucky ones.
We were, even though we had to open beds in places that we hadn't staffed before, but we made it.
Great. So I guess since you were fully staffed, then you never had to go to the patient's bedside.
No, I did not. And when we got our first hit with COVID, I was the director of staffing. So I staffed the institution with my team. I went to the bedside because I needed to see what was going on, not because I needed to staff as a nurse.
Okay. Were your nurses ever faced with the decisions of life and death, like who could be treated or?
No, that was never a nurse's responsibility. And from my experience walking through doing wrongs, because we did have to wrong as nurse leaders here, we did not have that closeness to making that decision. We've always been able, fortunately, I must say, and I don't want to sound like we didn't have any issues, but we've been able to staff adequately. Not to the numbers that we normally would have. Like, say, for instance, in med-surg, our normal ratio would be 6 patients to 1 nurse. During COVID, they were up to 10 patients. So it's not as if I'm saying, oh, well, it was all great.
Right.
But have to go to those extremes during that time.
Okay. Did some of your nurses have to make FaceTime calls to family members of the patients?
Yeah, we've had where that has happened. And actually, that's not as easy as people think it is.
Yeah, I know that's got to be very difficult.
It is.
With all your education and training that you have, were you prepared for what you faced?
I will not say that I was prepared. The only reason I it brought back deja vu, because when I became a nurse in 1982, that's when AIDS hit. And I was there during that time when we were unsure of what kind of, infection control to use against AIDS. We didn't know until we realized it was a sexually transmitted disease. So I felt like I was back in those days when COVID hit, because we didn't know again. And this one seemed to be even worse. So I've had that feeling where, oh my God, I'm reliving my junior nursing life, but at least we were better prepared.
Right. Were you ever afraid of catching a virus and bringing it home to your family members?
Daily. I have a daughter who is a nurse, and I have a daughter who is a public school teacher. So it's, all three of us were in the pandemic. All three. So this is something that if people say, no, I wasn't scared, I still am scared. I had my vaccines. I wear my masks. I wash my hands constantly. I have 7 little grandchildren. So yes, I am constantly scared, but I follow the CDC guidelines. I follow the hospital rules, and I pray for the best.
Right. You mentioned you have grandchildren. So was it a long span of time before you were able to see your grandchildren?
No, the great thing about it is I have 7 grandchildren, 4 who do not live with me, and 3 who live in the same house, because we have a 2-family home. And so I was able to see those 3 every day, because we basically lived together. The 4 that were away from me, we Zoomed every day.
Oh, okay.
We have the touchy-feely, but we Zoomed. That's the one whose mother is a nurse. So, of course, they were both, I did not want them to be exposed to me and be to their mother at the same time. And their father works in the hospital also. So,
oh, man.
Yes, we had it all around.
So the ones that live in the same building as you, are they doing virtual learning?
Yes, they are. Their mother is the teacher, so she's virtual teaching. So it's it's easier for them to do virtual learning. They're supposed to be going back to hybrid, and we chose to continue virtual learning because they are great with it.
Well, yeah, their experience. She's a teacher, so it works smoothly for them. Whereas I guess a lot of people are saying that, academically their kids have lost like a year of learning virtually, but that's not the same in your household since their mother's a teacher.
Correct. And I can understand a lot of the parents, because a lot of the schoolwork is difficult for parents to assist with. And my grandkids have been fortunate to have me. I mean, I do know math and English very well, and their mother is a teacher. And also, we stay on top of them. What I have found is if I don't pay attention to one of my grandsons, he'll have the Zoom on and be playing the game on the side. So I understand when the parents who are frustrated that they have these kids home and cannot help them, but it's safer right now. My daughter, who is the teacher, on Tuesday, she got notification that the one day that they were in school, they were exposed. So now she's home 10 days quarantine.
Oh, boy.
So she had the vaccine. She had the first dose, but they have them home quarantined.
Oh, okay. You clearly are resilient. We just met, so I am not sure, so I'm going to ask you, are you a woman of faith? And if so, how important has this been in helping you during this pandemic?
I am a woman of faith. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I do not go into church every Sunday. I am a spiritual Baptist by faith, but I am a Christian. It has been. I mean, normally on the mornings, you jump out of bed, you hit the shower, and it's work, work, work. Now, when you jump out of bed, you thank God for waking up in the morning. You thank God for giving you another day to see your family. I thank him for my place of employment. I thank him for not being infected. So it has renewed my faith. It really has. And it's sad that it should be a tragedy that it takes to do that, but it has. And I have a very strong bond with my family, and I have my sister who is strong in the faith. She is Pentecostal, and she to me is always in church. I'm not.
Right.
But I have it in my heart.
That's what matters. So there's been a lot of talk that the pandemic has brought mental health to the forefront. How is your mental health?
Great, because I have great support. I have great family. My family bond is so strong that I can talk anything with them. They even know when things are bothering me before I can tell them. The good thing is, when I speak to them, they can understand everything I'm telling them about the hospital without sharing private information.
Right.
When I need to speak, like one night I worked, and I'm not kidding you, we had 30 codes in the hospital that night. Height of the pandemic. And I broke down. And I can break down just telling you about it. Because when you see your nurses just not knowing what more to do, it is, and you do not know what to say to them. All you can do is hug them and say, it will get better. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. This cannot go on forever. And they're saying to you, oh, Ms. McLean, thank you. You're just saying that is enough for us. It breaks you down. And then I go home and I tell my family this. And then they tell me, sis, we're here for you. Right. So family bond, people underestimate how important it is to have a true bond. Not just say I have a bond, but have at least one person in your family who you can talk to without having to make it sound right. You can just tell them exactly how you feel.
Right. So you work in the hospital and you're around it every day. Has COVID affected you in any other way personally?
Only colleagues. We've had some losses, not many, but we've had a lot of colleagues who got ill. They contracted COVID. They've come back to work, but we've suffered a few deaths during the COVID time. And being the director of staffing, I know all the staff because I do orientation, so I meet everyone on a personal level with a lot of people. So it's very traumatic knowing that this is a young nurse, 26, 27 years old, and they expired. Of course, they had other comorbidities. It wasn't just the COVID.
Right.
But just the fact that it happened during that time and it was related, it's very traumatic.
I can only imagine that. So you mentioned you have had the vaccine.
Yes.
Good. So knowing what you know, what would you tell someone who is hesitant about taking the vaccine?
Well, actually, I have this conversation every single day because I have nurses who say they don't want it because we are guinea pigs. You know, I tell people the vaccine is not the infection that they're introducing to you. Forget that. This is not any virus that they're introducing. They're giving you something that helps you to build immunity against the virus. It is a great start. This gives you more chance of staying healthy and alive than contracting COVID. And this is where you need to think. A lot of my colleagues tell me, oh, but they're implanting devices into you to follow your life. No, Google and everybody else already has that. All you have to do is talk about something and go on your phone and open Siri and they're bringing up what you were talking about. So that's already in your life. Forget that. We need to think realistically. We have the technology. We have the experts. They are showing us what it is we need to do to take care of ourselves. And we need to follow that. And the vaccine is the doorway.
So things are getting better, and hopefully we will come out of this hole very soon. I think I've kind of got everything I need. Is there anything that you want me to ask you for our viewers?
No, not really. I think you did a very good job. You pretty much asked.
Thank you.
I hope I was able to give you the type of information that you were seeking.
You were wonderful. Thank you. We thought we needed a healthcare professional to kind of round out the whole discussion, and you were amazing.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate the opportunity to participate.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
You're most welcome.
I would like to thank all of my guests for joining us today. What they all have in common is resilience in the midst of a pandemic, the ability to handle whatever trials and tribulations come their way, and to believe God is everywhere and He hears the prayers of the faithful. Thank you for watching Woman to Woman. Stay safe and be well.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Parkinson Gilbert. Before I continue with the closing remarks, let's have a moment of silence to remember our family, friends, and coworkers that were lost due to the pandemic we have been fighting for the past year. We would also like to acknowledge some of the faithful women from the parish who have gone home to meet the Lord since we last met. Josie Mae Boyce, Ethel Carter, Jennifer Edwards, Leslie Everett, Beryl Hunter, Eva Johnson, Irma Liddell, Vilma Mitchell, Lillian Reed, Elaine Travis, Evelyn Williams, and
Alice Rosette, Parish Bookkeeper.
I will now read a poem by Eloise Rose called Resilience. Resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, from adversities, our realities that are tragedies, one step from catastrophe. Resilience is opening your mind, and those feelings that you hide are defined and described so you can move on with life. Yes, you will cry, but it's standing back up and never giving up the fight. Resilience is being paralyzed by fear, but you realize it just lies disguised. So you deny them the right to take residence of your mind, your life. Finally, peace you find. The Women's Day Committee of St. Martin de Porres would like to thank you for taking time to view our tribute to the women of the parish. We hope you enjoyed it. The committee would like to thank all those who gave their time and their talent to be part of this production. A special thanks goes to Roderick Randall for putting our vision together for all to see. Again, thank you for watching our tribute to women, and we hope we will see you all in person next year. Goodbye and God bless.